Yo guys, I just finished my 4-mile run, and today I did not meet all my goals. I finished the first 2 miles on time, but the last 2 I was a little bit off the pace, which is not really that good because the pace was pretty slow. I tried to stay right on the pace today, but I wasn't able to make adjustments when I as rapidly as I needed to, and I knew that planning to finish the mile strong was not really as good a plan as setting the pace early. Yesterday I went to a neighborhood picnic, and I learned that if your first mile is if you start slow, then often each mile will be faster than the last. I'm not sure if I trust the person who told me that, so I'm gonna try to understand why that might be the case. So boy, did I learn a lot today. I was thinking about Kitchen Table Magic, the podcaster who creates that. He got a gift from Christine Sprankle and Wizards of the Coast, which was a complete set of foil cards from Aether Revolt. And so I was thinking about how yesterday I was talking about how different currencies are useful for different things, that they can't always be exchanged for one another. And I realized that each card is kind of like its own currency. And that's why people can sometimes treat them like stocks. Like each card has its own discrete price, can rise and fall independently of the others. And so I was thinking about how collectors value the condition of cards, but there's also so much power in the dimension that is only based on their mechanics and the fact that they are authentic and that they are from when they're from. I mean, the authenticity, I guess, is on the other side of the coin, as it were, but the function of the cards, the text on them, the rules, and the rules that they existed at that time when it was created, it's like a lens that allows you to see into this other dimension and allows energy to flow through the cardboard. So I was thinking about it like it's a leaf on the ground, but you pick up the leaf and you look on the other side of it, and you see that there's like a novel or an encyclopedia written in some elven language or some alien language. That's the metaphor that I came up with. And so I was thinking about how the reason I think I'm going to succeed now, even if I didn't before, is because now I'm better at forgiving myself. And so I was talking to you a few days ago about what should I do if I miss a goal. And I was like, should I forgive myself, or should I get down on myself so that I know the next time that I want to try harder to hit the target? And I realized today that there's a difference between forgiving yourself and making excuses. And the difference is that if you forgive yourself, you still acknowledge that you failed. But if you make an excuse, then you're kind of saying, oh, but I actually didn't fail because things are not as they seemed. And it's useful to acknowledge when things are not as they seemed. I think it's incredibly powerful. Like, if you know about the fundamental attribution error, and the expectations that you have for other people, like counting other people's money, and so on. So it's good to understand excuses, but I don't know, maybe they are kind of the same thing, forgiving yourself and understanding that things were not as they seemed and outside of your control. I started to think they were different, but who knows? So as I was going around the neighborhood, I thought about like acknowledging people and waiting the correct amount of time before waving or something. And I thought about how having the headphones in and knowing that I'm not going to stop makes it easy for me to wave, because it's kind of like I know that the level of investment is low. I know that the level of the opportunity to take a risk is kind of low, I guess. And so that was kind of cool. I met a lot of neighbors at the picnic yesterday, and so now I've kind of seeded the neighborhood with these triggers that make me have like a friendly feeling. And when I was running past the spot where I originally had that thought about waiting the proper amount of time before waving, is when I realized that how much the headphones were actually helping me in that. So I also, by running the same route, I'm putting triggers into my mind about the topics I'm thinking about, and my subconscious mind can work on them in time for the mind to become clear when I get there. So I was thinking about how my subconscious mind is doing this work for me. And I was listening to the song that I had on, and I was like, wow, this is such a great song to remember this topic, to create a stickiness or an association there. And so I looked at the name of the song, and it was said "Not Assigned," and I was like, okay, cool. So that's like my subconscious mind giving me thoughts that are not yet assigned to a name. The thought doesn't have a name yet, it's just in the subconscious. So there was a bunch more things, but I think I'm going to stop this video here, and if I need to do an update later to download more of the fresh thoughts for you guys. I have a lot of videos planned for today, so I gotta get to work on that too. All right, remember to suggest tracks by using the hashtag #MilePaceTracks. Thank you so much. So there are a few more things that I wanted to tack right on instant update status. So when I put the first note from today's run into the other video, I mentioned the Gifted Kitchen Table Magic of the complete Ether Revolt set. And the reason that made me think about some of the things that it did was because I was kind of comparing it to my thoughts from yesterday that I put into a Medium post about Puka Trade, where I speculated that a lot of collectors could establish a want list that has a good spread of different prices, different price points, so that when you fill in a trade, you can find a bunch of different cards to mail all at once, and you can use the efficiency of the network to amortize the cost of postage. And so I was thinking about why would I send off a card from Legends of the Dark? If I had an old card and I was filling out cards into a trade, why would I want to add that and give it to someone else? And I thought, well, the reason is, like, if I have 2 of them or 4 of them or 6 of them, and the person doesn't even have one, he might want to collect one. So it's kind of like, almost in a way, there's an ideal distribution where each person has one of each card. And that's kind of what made me think of the yeah, I was like, why do, like the value to a collector, right? So they want to have a complete set, they want to have one of each, and that is something special. And so I was like, why does it matter? Why is it better to have one of each than to have 2 of one and 0 of another? So that is a good thing to ponder. Another thing about how good I've gotten at forgiving myself is that when I moved out of my apartment 2 weeks ago, I left all my furniture behind, and I haven't even really thought about it since I moved back in with my parents. I was so ready to let go of the emotions, trying to pay rent after, not having enough work, and having some difficulty collecting rent from my roommates. I thought about how the value of that apartment was really enormous. It was a wonderful, wonderful apartment. But the reason that I didn't have to pay an enormous rent was because I was doing the work to take care of it. I was doing the work to collect the rent and explain to my roommates that it was important to share in that responsibility. And I was pretty easygoing about it. I didn't give people too hard a time because I sympathized. I know what it's like to be in that position. But in the end, I probably wasn't hard enough because the rent didn't get paid quickly enough, and it caused a lot of stress for everyone. So if I had done better at that, it would have been probably a better way to honor the value that we were bestowed the responsibility of caring for. But I also know that as much work as I put into the apartment, I also kind of made an early withdrawal, as it were, because I set up my Apple TV in the living room and the couch at a position where as soon as you open the door, you would be facing me and directly across the room from me. So it was cool. I mean, I was on good terms with my roommates, but I know that having a layout like that creates kind of an awkward moment, and I realized that that's related to the idea that I discussed before about looking away from somebody until you're close enough to acknowledge them, and then you say hi. So when you can hear them opening the door and you know you're about to say hi, it's like, I don't know, there was just an awkward energy. And I knew from the beginning that I was creating that and that it was making the apartment less valuable for my roommates to live in, because it was kind of like just, I guess it's related to how much privacy they had in the space. And it also kind of, I think, created a situation where they were less likely to come into the common space because it was like my space. So if I hadn't made that early withdrawal, and if I hadn't watched so much TV, hadn't made any excuses for why it was important for me to watch the TV, then maybe the project of taking care of the apartment would have gone better. So those, I think, are the 3 things that I wanted to add on to this update. So see you later today. I can't wait to keep putting the rest of this down on video for you. I've got some incredible stuff. All right, peace. You guys, instant update part 2. I realized that when I was thinking about forgiving myself and how I could explain it to you guys, what I meant by that, I was thinking, like, am I still a perfectionist? Maybe. But I'm a high-functioning perfectionist, because I'm never going to stop noticing when things could be better, but I can stop obsessing over the fact that they could have been better. It's like, don't let your powers of observation get in the way of your ability to prioritize and execute. And it's related to being distracted by tragedies. So I think about this a lot, how people use their social media accounts to kind of react to tragedies and express sympathy or express outrage. And I try to take a broader view rather than mourning individual deaths. I try to understand the problems that are among the biggest and most solvable problems in our world. Try to kind of triage the problems, as it were. Try to identify which ones are not only causing deaths and pain, but are also subject to a solution that we can afford. And anyway, I wasn't really thinking about this during the run, so that's kind of cheating to explain it now. What I was thinking is, like, I'm a high-functioning perfectionist, and using terminology like that helps to get the distraction out, the distraction of thinking about what could have been done better, having a way to write it down, as it were. I've been taking more notes about what I need to do in the future and help me, like, get the thoughts off my mind. So having a term for yourself, an identity that reminds yourself that you are not someone who gets distracted by tragedies, and you're not somebody who reacts to things that are done by others. And so yeah, forgiving myself, I can then become a high-functioning perfectionist, and I still understand perfection, but I also have the ability to execute. So we'll see, but check back later and we'll see if I really get another 4 or 5 videos done today. I think so. All right, thank you. It's just one more thing I had to add. I think I will get 4 more videos done today, but if I don't, just watch how fast I will forgive myself.